Hey guys, it's Drew Cubing and welcome back to another video. Today we have an unboxing from Daily Puzzles, so let's get into it. These boxes are always much harder to open than they have to be. So as you can see, we've got quite a few puzzles here. This one is, I believe, a Fischer cube gear ball. This is a 1x2x3, I believe, from Chi. Here we've got a 2x2 Pyramorphix. But it's not just twisting the tips, you actually have to move it sideways. It's a very confusing puzzle, but if you get the hang of it, it's fine. And this is a Pyramorphix X-Man Bell version 2. Okay, so let's start with the smallest and cheapest, probably, the 1x2x3. Okay, instruction pamphlet. Yep, you'll definitely be needing this for this easy puzzle. Or at least I hope it's easy. Okay, it's a bit tight, and it obviously doesn't have much lube, but I think overall, no major catches, so yeah, decent cube. Okay, I think I've mixed this up, so let's give it a solve. Okay, so we've got this block here already, so let's try and connect this one. Now that gives you like a T-perm, so gotta try another way to solve it. That works, I guess. Let's try and fix this middle section now. Just an R2, U2, R2. And now a T-perm. I'm starting to think I'm gonna need that after all. It says you have to do the middle section first. Yeah, then you do the bottom layer and then the top layer. So this is the algorithm we're gonna be using, I believe. The other side is just Chinese. So let's give this a go. Yes, like this, okay. U2, F2, R2U, R2, YG prime, R2D, R2U, R prime, U prime. Okay, so you actually seem to need to learn this algorithm if you want to solve this cube, but apart from that, it's pretty easy and pretty intuitive if you've already solved like 2x2s and bigger cubes. Next up, we have a 3x3 mod. This is a Fischer cube, and if you take a look at the puzzle, it has weird like diagonal lines through the cube. But this is actually a 3x3 mod, as I said, so these are actually edges, these are still centers, this is a corner, and this is an edge piece as well, this is a center, so the whole cube sort of shifted sideways when compared to a 3x3. But there's also extra parity. Ooh. First turns, this is a very dry puzzle, and very stiff, I have to say, and it locks up quite a bit. Oh, and I forgot about this too. It sort of shape shifts, but it's still a 3x3, so it's sort of like a ghost cube or some other 3x3 mod, but it just gets really confusing when trying to solve it. Okay, so if I'm right, so this is a center here, so I'm gonna try and match this one up like that, and now we've got to try and match this corner, this edge, I guess, to make the white cross. Yep. As you can see here, this makes a cross, sort of. This one's in the wrong spot. I'll move that over. There we go. You know what? I'm going to try and fix this before. There we go. And finally this one. Now we have the white cross, but it looks like a white, diagonals for the other one. This is actually an F2L pair right here, and I can insert it like this because there's no two colors on the edges. Just one goes right in the middle. Another free pair here. And for this one, oops, I needed to fix that, but I think we can do it later. And insert that here. There we go. Now, of course, we do have parity here, so that's a little annoying. Like a 4x4, no, what am I gonna do? And this time there's no instructions when you actually need them. Now what I'm thinking we're gonna do is I want to do like a U-perm to see if this rotates the center in the middle. It does. Okay, so I can actually fix them all now, but I don't know if this is gonna help. There we go. Now this center is fixed, but what am I gonna do about parity? Technically, what this parity means is that one of these edges actually flipped. So if I take that out and put it back in a different way, maybe with the sledgehammer? No, that doesn't work. Okay. Let's insert that and let's try and put this edge back in from the other side. It works. Well, there you go. So you just got to imagine like these edges here are flipped in a 3x3. So when you're doing 2 layers on a 3x3, usually obviously your edges will be oriented like correctly. But you could also have this position. So when this edge is flipped, you also have parallel on the top. So you have to imagine like this edge is flipped and then you just put it back in the other way. Okay, next we just do OLL, right, like this. And PLL. I mean, OLL for the edges, corners, what am I saying? Okay. And now this is when it becomes a bit interesting. This is actually going to be not an R-perm, which you usually see on a 3x3. So it's actually not this R-perm, as you might think it's quite similar. So as you can see, these are actually acting as edges, and these ones are as corners. So we've got to find a PLL that swaps 2 adjacent edges and 2 adjacent corners. And what I'm thinking of right now on a 3x3 is actually a similar algorithm, just the opposite RA, or the RB algorithm now, because it swaps these 2 corners here, which are these 2, and these 2 edges, which are these 2 ones. So, if I'm not wrong, if we just place ourselves here and do this R-perm, we'll end up with a solve cube. So, it just requires a bit of thinking outside the box, and you should be able to get it pretty easily. Next up, we've got a Pyramorphix modification, and opening it up, another instruction pamphlet. We'll probably need this time. And there's the pack wrapper. Okay, so it's quite a big Pyramorphix, as you can see, but it's called a Pyramorphix. Now you might think that you're just twisting these tips here, but as a matter of fact, you're actually twisting the whole puzzle in half, which makes it much more complicated. And I think it actually acts as a 2x2 mod, which is very interesting. I think these are centers and these might be the centers. I don't know, it's very confusing. So let's give it a scramble and see what we can get. Okay, so I'm not sure where to start. I want to try and match up some colors, maybe the yellow ones, like this and like that. Okay. I do remember if you did some sledgehammers, you actually end up making the Pyramorphix shape again. I keep getting into this position where I have half the puzzle solved, but half of it not. Now apparently if it's a 2x2, I'm gonna try doing the T-perm and see what happens. Nope, that just messed up the puzzle quite a bit. This time I'm gonna try matching these corners with their corresponding centers, because they're not technically centers. Aha. I actually think this is the first step, solving like this sort of shape here, which is actually the first 2 layers. Nope, that failed me again. Okay, so we have this first layer again. It looks like we might just have to do a 3-piece cycle since this one's already in the right position. But I don't know how this is gonna go. So what does this say? It's all in Chinese. That to that to that to that. Yeah, this is quite tricky. We might have to come back to this later because this is looking quite tricky and I'm not quite sure where to go from here. So after a bit of playing around, I think the easiest way to solve this puzzle is to first create this like first layer with like 4 pieces, and then try and align as many pieces as possible in this like top layer. So for example, I could get like this one, or I could get, I guess, this one, and technically that's solved. So now I'd use a T-perm to swap these 2 pieces right here, like you usually would on a 2x2. And then you might end up with like a flip corner like this, but this is really easy to solve. You just do a sledgehammer over and over again until it's solved like this. Okay, so now we've got a gear ball. Now, this seemed like quite a nice puzzle. It's definitely very aesthetic, I have to say. Now let's try first turns. This is quite smooth. I really like the feel of this, I have to say. Now it's a gear ball, so you can only do turns of 180 degrees, and every time you do that, it looks like you've done like an L prime and an R prime. Yeah, so I think this shouldn't be too hard to solve. Oh, by scrambling it, I accidentally brought it back into this shape, so Let's give it another scramble again. So this looks pretty scrambled. The first step is to get it into a 2x2 again. So looking at these corners here, this one needs to go down here. Let me just bring that down. So I'll just do an R2 and F2. There we go. These two corners. Now we've got to get the other two. They're down here, and I can just bring them up like this. So now we've got these four. And you actually get these four as well. So it's really easy, and I think... Okay, well I can align them now, and now I've got to try and get the centers into the right positions. Now you've got this, but how do you solve these edges now? That's my question.
Every night. And visualize seeing yourself as...
Yeah, I would visualize,
This is when you were broken poor.
Right.
Yeah. Honestly, I think I'm stuck with this puzzle too, so... Okay, just realized that there are instructions in this one again, so... That's nice. Okay, so maybe we can learn from this. Okay, so it did seem like the first step was to get the corners good. But now there are a few algorithms you need to sort of know to solve these edge pieces around the place. Okay, so... R2 means R2, R2. Then we've got a U2, R2, R2. And that solves these two. Now we've got to flip them using R2, basically, 180 degrees. U2. These moves are so awkward to do. 2, U2, R2, U2. And, well, there you go. It's solved. I'm gonna try doing that again because that was quite difficult, much harder than I expected. For some reason I thought this was like some 2x2 and it was really easy to solve, but... Oh, is that solved? I think so. Yep, it is. Okay, well we did manage to get it in the end, although it took quite a while, but I can successfully say that I have solved this puzzle. Okay, finally, last but not least, we've got the X-Man Bell V2. What have I done to this poor box? Okay, well, here's the Pyramorphix. Firstly, it comes with a beautiful pamphlet, some instructions. This guy, he looks very focused, let's leave him alone. And the new magnet design of this Pyramorphix. And some extra interchangeable magnets, I believe. And then a screwdriver. What are this? This is probably for all the magnet stuff. A mini screwdriver and a big one. Well, let's put that aside for now. And let's try out this X-Man Bell V2. Okay, I can definitely say it's more stable than the V1. It's a bit more blocky. The X-Man Bell V1 was much more flexible. I don't necessarily think that these magnets are much different, to be honest. Now this is the Bell V1. You can use it to compare. It's definitely much more flexible and has a sort of clicky feel to it. And yeah, tips were quite smooth as well. The X-Man Bell V2 is a bit more blocky. It has a lower pitch, obviously. And I feel like it's definitely more controllable. It might not be smaller in size, but it definitely feels like it with these like indents and more compact shape. Let's try and do a quicker solve. Not that it'll take very long. Okay. And there we go. Does it live up to its hype that I heard about like a while ago? Because it's been a long time since the Bell V2 came out. But yeah, honestly, it's probably worth it. I think it's only slightly more expensive than the Bell V1. Now let's check out these magnets. Also the tips, much more slow. Now there are 3 settings. There is light, moderate, and strong. And if you use the screwdriver to change each setting, you'll either get a plus, minus, or a dot. It will mean how strong your magnets are. Okay. Aha, so you can probably make it point at one of these 3 settings, which I don't know if you can see it here on camera. There you go, now I got it to focus. There's actually 3 steps here. There's a dot, the plus, and the minus, and I think you can move this pointer here to make it point at one of these 3. So these are the weaker magnets. It's definitely noticeable. It's a much more flexible. Definitely starts to feel a bit more like the Belt V1 with the more flexible, fast feel. I'm going to try... Okay, so these are the weaker settings. I think I'm noticing definitely a few more lockups, but that might be due to my inaccurate turning. I do prefer the normal settings, but yeah, overall, very solid Pyramorphix, probably become my main just because it's a bit more controllable than this one. I've noticed I often get quite a few +2s on Pyramorphix because of the tips, so let's see if this will help. It's definitely a bit more slow and more controllable, so yeah, that's basically it for this unboxing. I hope you enjoyed this sort of impromptu video, but yeah, make sure to subscribe and like down below if you did enjoy, and until next time, I guess. Bye.